team, it's Gina Brooks with the Proteus Human Resources Department, and today's video is a continuation from last week's video on gratitude. I wanted to give you some examples. I know many of you have been asking about the contest, and I'm putting up $100 for your guys' submissions, and there was 2 exercises or activities that you could do, and I'm going to show you an example of both of them, okay? But first, I wanted to share with you this really awesome quote. This gentleman on TikTok, he follows the teachings of Buddha, and he's just so peaceful, and I find a lot of comfort in the things that he says. And many of you know I've always struggled with self-esteem, and he said something that really resonated with me, and I wanted to share it with you. He said, we often compare our behind-the-scene life to others' highlight reels. And I thought, wow, that's so true, right? Like, we always are comparing what we have or what we're doing with what other people are doing, but we're only seeing their highlights unless we really truly know them, because everyone is going through something. Being grateful is really important, and it gets you through some really difficult times. When I'm going through hard times, the first thing I like to do is put something positive in front of me, right? To help motivate me to get through that little hump. So if you recall, last week you had 2 activities you could choose from, okay? And I'm going to go over both of them with you and show you an example of mine. So one of them was to pick 5 photos and something that you're grateful for, and you were supposed to send a picture of that item or whatever it was and put why you were grateful for it. So I did my 5. And these aren't all encompassing. I mean, obviously I have hundreds of things I'm grateful for, but these are a couple that really stand out to me that I want to share with you today. So my first one is my children. And this is my daughter Eden and my son Mason, and this is my baby Addie. Eden is 20 and Mason is 17, and I understand they completely look like the reverse. These 2 children, I could say, in addition to my hairstylist who is on, she's out because of COVID, have caused many of my gray hairs, but I'm also very grateful for them. I love them very much, and obviously when I think about a purpose-driven life and the majority of my last 20 years, this has been my job to raise these 2 individuals. And it's a challenge. And sometimes as parents, we concentrate on the challenge and don't always give the gratitude. They've brought me a lot of heartache. I'm not going to lie to you. They are challenging, but there is nothing like the love of your cubs. So I'm grateful for these little monsters. I'm also grateful for my health. I have always worked out, and this is a recent photo of me. I was going to do kickboxing. I'm 50 and the body isn't what it used to be. And my knees are giving me trouble. I used to be a runner for many, many years, and my knees are giving out. And I still challenge myself. I never give up. I work out 6 days a week. For those of you who have anxiety and depression, fitness is a great way to get that natural serotonin in your brain going, and it's the happy hormone that helps us muddle through things that are difficult. And exercise has always been my go-to. What's funny about this is that the other day I was working out, and my children have always seen me work out. And I think that's, it's not like they're motivated themselves to work out necessarily, but they do comment on it a lot. Like, oh, my mom's strong. Oh, my mom's this. And my son was like going, Mom, when are you going to stop working out? Like, your knees are bad. And I looked at him and I said, I'm never going to stop working out. I'm never going to give up. No matter how hard things are, I'm never going to give up. There's all kinds of lessons in life we can give, and I was happy to give that lesson to my son that day. Mama's never given up. My third thing that I'm so grateful for is reading. I love reading. I love writing. I particularly love reading. It helps release stress. I read every single day. And if you saw my Kindle, you'd probably be shocked because I have absolutely everything on there. I read everything having to do with any type of religion, anything having to do with history. I love every kind of biography, and it could be from weird stuff like Wyatt Earp, or I just read a biography of Doc Holliday. This book right here is from my high school sweetheart. He has been one of my closest friends for over 30 years, and he just published his first book, and I ordered a hardback. I'm super excited for him, and people like him motivate people like me who have dreamed of writing a book. He's dreamed of writing a book for many years. It's amazing. This isn't a plug for him, but it's on Amazon, and it is really a great read. But he's decided to mentor me on my book. So really excited about that, and very grateful for the gift of books and reading and nourishing my brain. Another thing that I'm very, very grateful for is the experiences I've had in traveling. I've been blessed that my stepdad worked for the airlines for many years, and I was able to fly free all around the world, or I would never have been able to afford it. But one of my first trips that I went abroad was to England, and you guys know how much I love Princess Diana by now. So I was able to go to Buckingham Palace. Kensington Palace is where Princess Diana lived. And if you recall in one of my posts, one of my videos, I showed you my Princess Diana doll. I was actually able to see Princess Diana's real dress. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful to my stepdad. I'm grateful for him pressing me to get outside of my comfort zone. I was so scared. I went by myself and met a friend over in England, and it was the scariest thing I've ever done. And I was so grateful for it. And to this day, my passion is traveling, and I'd rather travel than have money. So that's my future, travel. Okay. And last but not least, and like I said, I'm grateful for so many things. My boss, my best friend, but I'm grateful for these individuals. These are my employees, and these are essential workers, just like all of our Proteus employees and many of you out there watching my video. These are incredible human beings who work for Proteus, not for the money, not for the glory, but for the mission. And I'm so very grateful for them. So that's your first exercise example. So you can do that, and all you have to do is on your piece of paper, just write here what you're grateful for, your name, 5 days, or 5 photos. It doesn't even have to be 5 days. It could be 5 different things. Send those in to me to enter the contest for that $100, okay? And so the next one that I asked you to do you could choose from, was to write an obituary or a eulogy for someone alive. And if you recall, we talked about the importance of telling people how we're grateful for them, what they mean to us while they're still living. Because oftentimes we're not able to have the opportunity to tell them. People pass away unexpectedly, or maybe we just didn't know how to say it. And I have to say, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that the ego, the fear of rejection is not as important to me anymore as being able to express how I feel about people. I think when people say they don't know how to express their feelings, I think that's an out. I think that we all have the ability to express how we feel about each other. It's fear that prevents us. And the problem is with fear is if we don't fix that, then people we love, we could lose, and they'll never know how we feel about them. And I had that happen to me, and you all know because I talk so much about losing my stepdad to cancer. It's been 3 years, but I had I think we were so much into the fight to save him, and I was so involved in researching and being there through all the chemos and just helping him and my mom get through this. We never had that real sit down talk, right? Where I was able to tell him how I feel. And I really, really regret that. And I don't want you guys to have that same regret. But I did have the honor and privilege to write and read his eulogy. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done, I have to tell you. I hate public speaking for one, right? And then you're up there in front of all these people talking about the person, one of the most influential people in your life, your mentor, your father. And it's really hard to not tear up. And I did. And actually, this is probably after 3 years, the first time that I can actually read his eulogy and not cry, or look at his videos and not cry. It now brings me joy. And I want to share it with you. And this is an example that you could do. So you don't have to just do an obit. You can do a eulogy, a celebration. And I'm going to read his. So I'm going to look at my notes. And this is kind of an example. You don't have to go this far, but just maybe a great example of expressing how you feel about someone. So I'm going to leave out some of the beginning because it was actually obviously it was at a funeral. And, you know, I'm acknowledging the people there, but I'll start where it'll make sense to you. Okay. And my stepdad's name was Dave. Okay. What I would like to share with you is how Dave came into our lives over 30 years ago. Dave worked at the airport in Santa Maria, and my mom worked at an adjoining restaurant. Dave had a very unique way of courting my mom. Let's just put it this way. He did not have moves like Jagger. Not only did he get her to buy him drinks when he visited the restaurant, but also was able to swindle coins from her to play video games. After he drove up in a beaten down Volkswagen Bug with no car insurance, my mom was like, oh yeah, I gotta have him. Before he felt too sorry for my mom, she got him back, and it started the day he met us kids. My mom received a frantic phone call at work from a 13-year-old me. I was crying hysterically because my brother Vern, yes, that's his name, who was a freshman at the time, was dropped off on the front lawn of our home. And when I say dropped off, I mean literally dropped off the bed of a truck and placed on the lawn. He and his friends were so intoxicated that they threw up all the way up from the lawn onto the porch and all through the house. I was in full-blown panic. My mom couldn't get away from work, so she had no choice but to ask the 26-year-old, unsuspecting Dave, who she barely started dating, to go by the house and check on us. Well, he really got to know us that night, particularly Vern, since he had to help him into the shower and get cleaned up. He spent that evening helping me clear up the evidence of my brother's teenage bender before my mom got home. Most men would have ran. Come to think of it, Dave did move to Hanford shortly after that incident. Thankfully, my mom and my baby brother Ben, who was 5 at the time, joined him. Eventually, they settled into Visalia, where Dave managed the American Eagle and later American Airlines in Fresno, and raised Ben as his son. I joined them after graduating from high school. Dave's career in the airlines quenched his thirst for adventure. He traveled all over the world and then again, bringing family members and friends. He loved to be able to share the exotic and historical places he explored, and my entire family has been blessed to see some of the most beautiful destinations in the world. He believed experiencing other cultures and countries made you well-rounded individual and would enrich your life, and it certainly did for me. Dave loved life. He experienced more in his 62 years of life than many of us will experience with much longer time. His joy for life was absolutely infectious. When he enjoyed something, the excitement just oozed from him. When he listened to music, he felt the music. He didn't just write a letter. He made the words dance off the paper. I'll never forget him standing on the sidelines of the dance floor at my wedding, watching my brother Vern and friends line dance. He didn't know how, but he was out there just slapping his knees and having the time of his life. And we still talk about how he cleared the dance floor by skidding all the way across the dance floor on his knees. He loved life, and you loved life when you were around him. Dave was also a believer in lifelong learning and self-improvement. He was a seeker by nature, and that included his desire for success in business and in life. He took risks. Some of them paid off, and some of them didn't. For example, his idea that he could rent a truck drive to Mexico and purchase pottery to take back home and sell for a profit didn't. But his decision to leave the airlines and go into business for himself did. As great as he was a successful man, he was an even greater leader of our family. He invested time into each of his kids and his grandchildren. For me, he was present at every milestone in my life: graduations, marriage, the birth of my children, divorce. He was always rooting for me, even when I disappointed him. I know he did the same for my brothers and his many close friends and family members. Dave was a gifted listener and questioner. He loved learning about people and had a genuine interest in everyone he met. He made you feel cared about because he actually cared. He made you feel like he was better for knowing you instead of the other way around. When we found out Dave had cancer, my mom, Dave, and I circled the wagons. From the minute we found out, we were in it to win it. We each had a role. I was the researcher, note taker, and stalker of doctors. My mom was the caretaker, Uber driver, and hospital companion. Dave's job was to live. And that's exactly what he did. He lived. He never let cancer define him. He did not waste the precious time he had feeling sorry for himself and thinking about cancer every second of the day. I did that for him. When we found out he had secondary cancer, parotid cancer, we thought, you gotta be kidding me. I even joked with Dave about him being an overachiever. Having one cancer just was not good enough for him. But he beat down that cancer too. When the cancer came back, it attacked him with a vengeance. Dave tried to fight. He wanted to live. He was the strongest, most courageous man I ever met. Now it's our time to be courageous. The three of us were in it together from the beginning, and we were going to end it together. My mom and I sat at the head of the bed with my finger on the pulse of his neck as Dave took his last breath. He was no longer in pain, and I excelled. As painful as this time was, I now see the beauty in it. My mom and I were not the only ones refusing to leave, choosing to be courageous for the most courageous man we knew. His son Ben and my brother Vern, his adored grandchildren Matthew and Jennifer, his friend and son-in-law Corey, and his mom Edna were also by his bedside. We will forever be connected by that moment. I am so thankful for each of them and the circle of love we created for Dave. And if Dave finally found the peace and contentment he spent a lifetime searching for. I learned a lot about love that day. My mom taught me about commitment and what it meant to love in sickness and health. My grandma taught me about the love of a mother for her son when she wheeled herself to the car when she couldn't reach anyone to help her and drove herself to the house so she could be with her baby boy. I learned about the love of a son as my baby brother helped lift his father out of the bed and wheel him out of the house for the last time. I want to leave you with these words of an unfinished letter Dave wrote, titled Dave's Message at the End, that my mom and I found. He said, "Perhaps we've all been in a situation where we realize that when we are gone, it won't take long for people to forget us. Perhaps you haven't. It's an only thought. It's a lonely thought and feeling. For those that have traveled a path in which the challenges were many and your existence was somewhat constantly in the rearview mirror, it's a different story." And his point was he had cancer and he didn't know where he was traveling. He didn't know where he was looking. And he was saying that it's important, it's lonely to know that you don't know you have a future. And he's saying for those of you that don't understand that, you need to appreciate and be grateful every moment you have. Anyway, I know that was long, and it was a eulogy from someone that actually passed away, but these are all things that I would have loved to have told him when he was alive, because it really truly was the essence of who he was and what he meant to myself and my family. So I'm asking you guys to do it for someone that's alive. It truly is a gift that you can give to someone, but not just to them, but to yourself. So, okay, I originally gave you only until Wednesday, June 3rd, but because there is a holiday, I like to like extend it to next Friday, by next Friday at 5 o'clock. So June 5th by 5 o'clock, get your entries in to me. Like I said, just put your name on it. If you do not want me to share it, I will not. I will just announce the winner. But if you would like to share it, I could leave your name out and their name out and just share the gift that you're giving to someone in terms of a eulogy, a obituary, or you can share those 5 photos of things that you're grateful for. Well, I'm grateful for you, my watchers and listeners. Anyway, thank you and toodles. Bye.